The topic of burnout has been spoken about for quite a long time. In fact, it was something that came out of the World Health Organization that described burnout as a workplace phenomena, coming from being overwhelmed and overloaded with so much stuff that we're literally burnt out. Our energy is depleted. If you're someone who thinks you may be suffering from burnout, or indeed has suffered from burnout, you know how terrifying it can feel when you pretty much come to the end of that proverbial rope. You know, nothing more can be done, and sadly, there's no more joy, and simply life isn't joyful anymore. My name's Martin Daubney, and I'm a psychological coach working in the centre of Basel, but more importantly, helping people with burnout and preventing burnout in the first place so that it never actually happens. I hopped on that journey because I too suffered from that situation when I was in my last corporate role, and before me I saw people falling over at their desk. Not literally falling over, but collapsing, you know. People would disappear from the office. Have you heard about John? And we heard about John, and John came back and then he disappeared again. This was like 10, 15 years ago. This was before the current situation where burnout is sadly still on the increase. People's resilience is low, stress is high, and the papers don't make comfortable reading. If you look at the data, the number of people suffering with stress and anxiety now, which leads to burnout and all sorts of other complications, and sadly, a huge number of suicides. So let's do something about that. Let's not dwell on that too much, but really have a look at what can be done in this space. So as dire as it sounds, honestly, there is hope. How we respond to burnout is crucial. It's a crucial contributor to the results that we have in life. And if you can spot and manage and bounce back from burnout, then you will continue to thrive, be happy, and have a loving life. The bouncing back bit, though, does bother me slightly, because whatever experience we go through, wherever we are, when we have experienced that experience, we can't be the same as we were before we experienced that experience. And so bouncing back inevitably means we are changed in some way. Can't tell you the number of people that I've spoken to in my studies and my learning who have helped me understand this even more. Former colleague of mine actually had a severe reaction to too much travelling, and that can happen as well. In those days when we were travelling a huge amount, I know I used to wake up sometimes when I would wonder, where the heck am I? The room was strange. More often than not, though, this is the weird bit for me, I'd wake up wondering where I am, and I was actually back in my own room with my own wife in my own bed, so everything was safe. But I have heard people tell tales really freaking out when they didn't know where they are. And for some, it can take a huge amount of time to regain that energy that they used to have, and that joie de vivre, that love of life, that wanting to contribute that was there before they had their burnout. People often tell me that their experience, and this may be you, is that they don't really recognise how this thing creeps up on them. Certainly was for me. Those moments when I was waking up at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, frantic about the work I was doing, just made matters worse. But we didn't realise it made matters worse. We'd go to work the next day a bit groggy and a bit fuzzy-headed. Maybe that's you. But if you are working in that space of being a bit groggy and a bit fuzzy-headed, you're not giving your best. And if you're not giving your best, what tends to happen is that you worry about not giving your best during the night. Your subconscious mind mulls over the things and the learnings that you have to do from the previous day. And lo and behold, 3 o'clock in the morning, oh my God, I did this, I should have done that. So we wake up in a non-best state, and then it's kind of downhill. You need to take those breaks. You need to stop and allow yourself to recover in order to be at your best. Interestingly, there was a poll on LinkedIn and the pollster asked, what would you rather have? Would you rather work 24/7 and burn out? Or would you rather rest and reset? Now, for me, that was kind of, why are you even asking? Who wants to burn out? Ask anyone who has truly experienced the burnout. They want to go back there. That's no place for anyone to be. And yet there were some people who expressed a wish that working 24/7 and burning out would be a great place to go off and go to a desert island and recharge and then come back and presumably do it all again. Most people, however, do recognise rest and reset as the best way to be. And there are ways of resting and resetting during a normal working day. There are ways of resting and resetting before you have a very difficult meeting that you may need to go to, or an appointment, or an interview, whatever it is. And there are ways of resting and resetting in front of other people so that they don't even know you're doing it. Now, to me, that's a much more healthy approach to work, managing your energy levels in a very intelligent way and sustaining a much better workplace performance with a much clearer head and making much better decisions. So what is burnout? Well, most of us think of burnout as just doing too much. You know, you've got a stack of things that you need to get through. In the old days, you had a pile of paper on your desk. Maybe even now you've got an email, you print it out, you put it in a stack to read, whatever. Or you've got a inbox with 300, 400, 500 unread emails in it. Always there, nagging at you. Read me, read me. You feel overwhelmed. You've reached breaking point mentally or even physically. Some people I know who I've spoken to in my learning have actually described that they want to get up and out of bed on a Saturday. I mean, it's not even a work day. And they couldn't. They managed to get out of bed and then they fell down and couldn't get up. The body was physically exhausted. Now, the body is fantastic. It sends the mind all sorts of messages, and the mind is incredibly capable of ignoring those messages. So just think about this for a minute. If you're someone who is sat at their desk and you feel a tension across the shoulders, you know, feel that, oh God, that's stress. You are holding stress in your shoulders. It's a sign from your body to get up and do some movement. Release the tension. If you're someone who's sat there and you go, oh, I've got a headache, another headache, that's tension. Those headaches, unless otherwise diagnosed, are caused by holding too much stress. A sign from your body to take some rest and relaxation. Do you? No, of course not. You take a paracetamol or an ibuprofen or something and it takes the pain away, but it doesn't deal with the root cause. If you're someone who, let's think, has digestive problems, let's leave it there, but it could be overeating even, eating too many sugary foods, cakes, sweets, chocolate bars, bread, pasta, anything that's going to refuel that sugary need that the body has is a sign that you're stressed. When we are stressed and we have too much of the stress hormone cortisol flooding through our body, we often reach out for sugary foods. That's what cortisol makes us do, because it's getting us ready to run away from the burning building, the saber-toothed tiger, or the horrible boss. All of these things trigger cortisol release. So there are signs in your body. Funnily enough, little aside, my left knee would ache. I also started to wonder why my left knee would ache, and my left knee, if I allowed myself to believe this, was telling me that I wasn't looking forward to a visit from someone coming up in the next couple of weeks. That said, I resolved that issue and now do look forward to that person coming to stay. So the body has a way of telling us, our mind has a way of negating that. So great, thanks mind. So that's overload burnout. Then of course we get unchallenged burnout. Now we can be working really, really hard, and in the days when I was doing leadership training, it was really sad to hear some people say, I turn up for work, I know who my boss is, my boss tells me what to do, I have no idea why I'm doing it. I'm good at it, I have no idea. It doesn't make any sense to me. I don't understand how it fits into the overall goals of the team, let alone the company. So this lack of purpose is kind of leads to boredom. And, typically boredom is another form of stress. It's on the scale of burnout to boredom. Boredom is rust out. Rust out is as bad for you as burnout stress is bad for you. And in that space, while we may feel calmer, because burnout often we have a sort of energy about it, we're trying to do things, we keep motivated, whoa, keep going, keep going, keep going. With rust out, it's the other end of the scale, and we kind of we have this boredom that comes with it, and we now know that boredom may feel calm because our heart rate is lower, but we're still pumping out the stress hormone, cortisol. And of course, we're pumping out the stress hormone, cortisol, which has a very long half-life. It stays in our body for a long time. Then we have all the complications of cortisol in our system. And the long-term implications of that are not good. Now, one thing our brain does, again, which isn't very helpful, is to set the limit of normal for cortisol, whatever normal is. Evidence these days is that we are all running around with far too much cortisol in our system, and that we all need to take some action to reduce that cortisol for fear of the long-term effects of stress and raised cortisol in our system, which evidence now shows can lead to cardiac problems, so problems with your heart, your blood pressure, heart rate, and so on. It can lead to cancer. It can lead to immunity problems. Who wants that when there's a nasty pandemic around? And so on. All sorts of long-term chronic illnesses come from too much stress. Now, our brain has this bizarre capacity to reset what normal is. So in a way, we don't get to feel the adverse effects anymore, but it is measurable, and we can take some very simple tests to figure out where you are on the cortisol levels. So then there's another bit of burnout, which is neglect. There's most often prevalent at work and in business situations when people feel completely hopeless and helpless. And instead of proactively seeking solutions, they're more likely to just give up and neglect their career. During the last year or so, when people have been working from home an awful lot, there's a huge amount that line managers can do to engage in their employees. And I've seen the best of them do that. Literally checking in, how are you, how's it going? And rather than accepting yeah, I'm fine, everything's okay, what they want to hear is, how are you? Really, what's going on? And if everything is okay, it's okay, but it's also okay to be not okay and express it. One of my friends, unfortunately, hadn't heard from his line manager for over a year. He expected to continue doing his job from work without any engagement whatsoever. And this sort of behaviour leads into a burnout or a depression. So how does burnout affect us? Well, all sorts of things. It can slow down your progress. If you're trying to get something done, honestly, you don't have the energy. If you're heading towards that, your energy stores are depleted and you just can't get things moving, can't get stuff done. Burnout saps that energy. We're in that state of actually trying to fuel it just to stay above the drowning line. And ultimately we end up feeling bad about ourselves, and we have those feelings of hopelessness, which then go into a depression. Burnout will affect us in many ways in our thinking. So our clear-headed thinking just goes and everything's a bit foggy. Anyone who's had a drink too many the night before will wake up and feel a bit, wish I hadn't done that. That's burnout thinking. You can't think clearly. Your relationships could suffer unless your partner is truly long-suffering. And ultimately, your career may suffer because you start making mistake after mistake after mistake. Ironically, and rather sadly, many leaders and poor managers in this space will seize upon those mistakes you're making, put a bit more pressure into the system, you make even more mistakes, and then that's it, game over, you're out of the organisation. And sometimes things can get even darker. Now, like I said, I've been in this area for 10 years or more, and I've been studying it relentlessly, getting the best advice from the best people. And I have collated all of that into one stunning program called Clear Your Head to Get Ahead. Doesn't matter what you're trying to do, this program will help. If you're in the workplace and you'll find your career slowly grinding to a halt and making bad mistakes and choices, this will help you. If you're in the home place and you are a mother with 2, 3, however many children and a cat, and you're trying to get all that stuff done, you're feeling overwhelmed and surely will be on that road to burnout too. This program will help you. If you happen to be a golfer trying to improve your golf game, getting into the right state to be at your best and play the best golf you can, this program will help you. And if you're in a team, my goodness, for teams, if we can get you together and run through the program together, then this program will help you too. Clear Your Head to Get Ahead is a unique combination of psychology, technology, and physiology. And we measure and we learn and we implement strategies that will truly help. Now, if you're interested in any of that, I don't want you to buy anything. I want you to take a call, book a call. All over this page, there is a call me or get in touch button. Just hit that button and we will be set up on a Zoom link for a 45-minute conversation. And who knows, if you are making the right noises and I know I can help you, then I will offer you into an assessment. Again, no charge, and then we'll take it from there. See what happens. This is just a discovery call and just an offer of an assessment. If you'd like to know more, hit the Let's Talk button, Let's Chat, get in touch, whatever it says on that button. And I'll see you on the other side of Zoom. Keep well.